Mm-hmm.
Okay. We've got. All right, I think we are up. Okay. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started if I can find where we're at. All right. So, welcome everyone this evening, joining us either here on Zoom or if you're watching on Facebook. This is our last History Happy Hour for the season. It's been an interesting season. We've been really fortunate to have most of our programs, and we're really, really grateful for all of our presenters who are really flexible to do them with us from wherever they were at. And really grateful for you guys who have continued to join us virtually through this year. It's definitely one of our favorite programs. It's a great way to connect with the community and different organizations. So we love it, and we're excited about it. And we do plan to have it next year. I guess stay tuned for updates on when we will bring it back next year. We've got some possible speakers already lined up, so keep an eye out for more details on this program. If we will be able to do it live or virtually, stay tuned. Like everything else that's sort of in flux right now, but we won't be starting until the spring with this program anyway. Before that, a couple of updates for you from us. The Heritage Alliance will be participating in Giving Tuesday. We did this back in spring. If you maybe you caught it, maybe you didn't. But it is a great way to connect with us. And it's a great way to help us out and donate and check out some great content that we're designing specifically for this program, including tour snippets and fun behind the scenes things, and a trivia night that we're working on. So a lot of things in the works, but that is going to be on December 1st. So the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. So that's coming up. Be sure to check out that on most of our social media and online platforms. We also have a cookbook coming out. We did the Taste of Tennessee fundraiser a couple months ago now, but we are putting together a cookbook from that fundraiser, featuring local recipes that were sent in. So that's going to be out in the early part of December, so keep an eye out for that as well. Without any further ado,
hey, Joe, can I just point out there real quick? Can you make sure this is recording on Zoom?
Yes, I can do that.
Okay, thanks. Sorry. All right, stepping out.
All right, so let's get started. So tonight we are wrapping up our presentation schedule. We're excited to have this conversation, and the sort of promo for it was Langston School alumni. And so we have Angelo Newman, and Evelyn Debro, who graduated in 1962 and 1965. Won't say which one graduated when, but 1965 was the last year for the Langston School. So we have a member of the last graduating class from the school. We also have Adam Dickson here with us, who will be part of the conversation. And I think I will go ahead and turn it over to you guys to go ahead and get started. So I will turn that to you, and I will mute myself. So,
Joe, Ann, thank you so much. We really appreciate the Heritage Alliance and the work that they're doing, not only in the community, but in the region, trying to preserve this very important history and heritage. And so very grateful to call you all colleagues as the Langston Center is doing its part in our neck of the woods. My name is Adam Dickson, and I do serve as supervisor here for the Langston Center. And we are a multicultural facility that's focused on arts, education, and community leadership. And so we really believe that everything that we do should focus on two particular areas: multicultural awareness, and then also, when it relates to our youth, workforce development. And so we're very excited, even in the midst of COVID. We're very excited to do what we do. Very grateful to be here with two very outstanding individuals. You're going to find out here very quickly that they have a zest for life and an energy and a drive, and just wonderful people, Evelyn, Debro, and Angelo, Newman. So we got a few questions this evening that kind of guide our conversation, and we hope that you all will communicate with us either via chat through Zoom or via Facebook. Contact information for the Langston Center is in the chat function there. Langston Center at johnsoncitytn.org is our email address. 434-5785 is our contact number. Mr. Newman, Miss Debro, first question I'd like to ask you all is if you will please share your memories of the culture of Langston High School. How did the parents and the teachers and the students, how did they all interact and connect with each other?
It was a family. It was almost like a family, and everything centered around the schools, in the elementary schools and the high school. It didn't matter whether you had kids that went there or not. If something went on at the school, everybody in town, all the pardon, everybody in town came. So it was, and you knew, everybody knew everybody.
And the students had a positive feeling, you know, on towards what they could achieve and all that stuff, you know.
So, you know, that's something that's always been on my mind. The fact that, you know, we know that these buildings were erected because of segregation. So there was a desire to divide. But I've heard stories, and I've heard the two of you talk about the fact that it seemed like that when you went in the building, it seemed like you were loved and supported and uplifted.
Right.
Exactly. And parents supported the teachers too.
Right.
If you got in trouble at school, you were going to get in trouble at home. There was that kind of support system that teachers and parents had. Sometimes you felt like as students, you didn't have a support system because they ganged up on you, but it was for our benefit that they did this.
Well, like she said, it was family, you know.
Yeah. You know, I've heard Bill Coleman, and for those who don't know, Captain William Coleman, retired Navy and VP of Human Resources, former VP of Human Resources at East Tennessee State University, also was a graduate of Langston. Mr. Coleman would tell the story that it seemed like there was the church and then the school. It seemed like those were like two very strong institutions in the Black community at that time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. And everybody knew everybody, you know. It was small, and you got a chance to know everybody, even from the 7th grade to the 12th grade, you know. So everybody, you know, had a relationship, you know, and knew each other.
And so a lot of folks have asked me that question. So Langston was more than just a high school. It was from 7th grade to 12th.
7th grade to 12th grade.
7th to 12th.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you come out of elementary school into high school.
But they kind of kept the 7th and 8th graders on the lower floor, and the 9 through 12 was more on the 2nd floor.
Yeah, if you went up on the 2nd floor, you know, you was in trouble when you was in 7th grade, you know, with the older ones.
And so I guess it goes without saying, you all felt like you all were supported while you were at Langston.
Oh, yes.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely so.
Yeah. And I would think that in a, I'll say a social political context, if society was saying that you're second class, the schools were saying that you could do anything you wanted to do.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. And they told us always, you have to be better than.
Right.
And you can do better than, because we had books that we had the hand-me-down books from Science Hill. And I think I always got the book from the dumbest kid in that class, because it was, you look at them and you think
You got the wrong answer.
well, I can't use that. At first you thought it was you, but no, it was that there were some. I knew right away that there were some people that weren't so smart at Science Hill too.
Yeah.
So I'm told that when you walked in the school, that there was a banner that was there at the school.
Mhm.
And we have a mural here at the Langston Centre that has the same words: enter to learn, depart to serve. And from what I understand, that the great educator Mary McLeod Bethune,
Right.
that she coined that phrase. And I'm just curious, what does that phrase mean to you, or what did it mean to you as students?
Well, that made you know that you could, could go on and be successful in life. Those words. I mean, enter to learn, depart to serve. You could depart and be successful.
Our church has that same motto now, and it meant to me they will give you the tools to go out and do something in your community, or in wherever in life took you. You had an obligation to give back, because they'd given you all they had and nurtured you to get to where you could go out and and be successful.
Right.
And give back.
Yeah, once you felt those words, it made you feel, real good. I mean, you could, you're gonna enter to learn, you're gonna depart to serve.
Yeah.
Words.
But it seems like in today's time, that sense of empowerment, a lot of youth, a lot of adults need that sense of empowerment. And it sounds like Langston students got that, that sense that you can do anything that you wanted to do.
Right. Be successful. Yeah.
Yeah. Will you take a little time to name one of your favorite teachers and explain why they were your favorite?
Let Evelyn do that first.
Kelly Gillespie Red is one of my favorite. And it's because, like I say, we've been together from 7th through 12th grade. She was in school when I was there, when I started. And she was one of those you looked up to then. And when she came back to teach you, and one of my favorite subjects was English. And when she came back, I think at first I thought, well, this is going to be easy. That was the hardest class in the world with her doing it, because she had to prove something to us that, she wasn't a pushover or whatever. But I love her to death now. And she is the funniest person to be interviewed. I love her.
Oh, those who are listening, Miss Callie Red, she was at our grand opening a year ago, actually a year ago today.
Right.
It was Sunday, November the 19th. We opened our doors. We had about 600 people here, and Miss Callie Red was one of the speakers, and she had the place just rolling. She's a hoot, and she just very, very witty. So Callie Red. Angelo, how about you?
Oh, it's Mr. Charles Douglas. He was a chemistry teacher, a biology teacher, a science teacher. He even taught Bible, and he was a motivator. He built confidence in you. He really promoted a lot of interest, and and he wanted you to do a reason to do. He gave you a reason to do. He always called you Mr.
Yeah.
Or Mr. Newman, or Mr. or Mr. Jones, or whatever. He was a real good. He was a gentleman.
Yeah.
I admired him a lot. As a teacher.
Yeah.
Had a lot of respect for him.
Adam,
Yes, ma'am.
all the teachers at Langston dress as if they were going to church every day. All the men wore ties, all the women wore heels, and they dressed.
Oh, yeah,
they dressed to the nine. That made you want to grow up to be a teacher because of the way they looked. And when the schools were integrated, they went to the other schools. They said, where are you going after school? What are you and what are you going to do? Because they dress so much. Like I said, they dressed for success, and they were a role model for us at all times. Because I never saw a teacher smoke. You might have smelled it, but you never saw. You didn't see them at the liquor stores or anything that would discredit them in your eyes in any way. They were proud to be in that profession, and we were proud of them.
Mm-hmm. They were outstanding, and they did their job. And all of them were my favorite, but Mr. Douglas kind of stood out, because he was more of he kind of motivated me a lot,
Yeah. So you make a point when you talk about the teachers and how they carried themselves and whatnot. Would you all agree, I guess for segregated Johnson City, the teachers were kind of, I guess the teachers, maybe the ministers, they were kind of the elite, weren't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
And a lot of teachers were married to ministers.
Right. Rev Owens,
There's several of them.
Yeah.
But you had one dentist, one doctor, and then the teachers were at the top of the echelon after that.
Right.
Yeah. And so a lot of this area where the center is now, where the high school was, that's where the teachers lived, wasn't it?
And
Right.
yes,
They lived on that
that's
street,
what
right in
hurts
that
so
section.
much now to see it go to that.
They lived on. That's one of the nicest looking sections in town. Doing
Yeah.
it. They kept the properties up and everything.
Yeah.
And they formed the proto club. The teachers that started the proto club. Along with Dr. Kilgore, one of the founders.
Will you share with everybody the proto club, what the proto club is?
Excuse me.
I said, will you share with everybody what the proto club is?
Oh yes, it was a group that organized back in 1952. By a group of black men, that wanted to better our race and stuff like that in the city, in the county also. You name Dr. Kilgore, McKinney, Ernest McKinney, and Norris, Willie Norris. So and it's still going on strong today, from the foundation they laid.
Yes, sir.
Right. And we give scholarships, try to give we were giving it's 4 scholarships a year at $1,250 scholarships, to different graduates, in the area, Science Hill, David Crockett, Daniel Boone, and all the schools, the ones that applied for it.
Right. So education is still a big part of the proto club.
Right.
Of course, when we get folks to come into the center for a tour, there's a couple of photos on the wall that relate back to the proto club.
Right, absolutely. I saw those.
It seems like folks are a little surprised when you bring out the fact that, there was a culture even in segregation.
Right,
Yes.
right.
And there was some degree of prosperity. I mean, maybe not overall, but there was some people that were, even doing well in segregation. Not everybody, but but there were a few, and it seemed like a lot of folks are surprised by that.
Well, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
But now, Angelo, you were an athlete, weren't you? When you
I played football.
Yeah.
I played. We had the best team in East Tennessee and Southwest Virginia.
Yeah.
I mean, we had the #1 team. And I mean, we were small, but we were green. The Coach Christmas would say we were green, lean, and mean. He would tell us that, and when somebody interviewed him, about how your team gonna do as your coach, and those are the words he always used: green, lean, and mean. And I remember one time we went down to Chattanooga, Riverside in Chattanooga. That was my junior year, and we tied with Riverside, and Tommy Harrington. He was a fullback. He got his leg broken, and so we had to leave him down there in the hospital. So But on the way back, you know, we used to have we had a little rally going on the bus, but it was quiet, you know. It was a sad because they beat up on us. I mean, beat up on us bad. But we tied the game with them. They didn't win the game. They beat us.
Give you a run for your money.
We gave us a run for the money.
Yeah.
And then we lost one of our games our senior year. We lost to Morristown. One of our former players went down to Morristown and took all our plays down there. We went down there and they killed us big time. So that's the only games we lost in 2 years. Our last 2 years were a tie and a loss to Morristown. But like we said, we had a small team. We were green, lean, mean.
Yeah. And you said Southwest Virginia, East Tennessee. Did you all include Kentucky too?
Well, we went to Kentucky way back in the days, you know, before my time. You know, we played in Kentucky, in Harlan, Kentucky. Yeah, we played Harlan. Yeah, you're right. We played Harlan, Kentucky.
Yeah.
And that was for, you know, I don't believe when I started playing, we didn't play Harlan. No, we mostly played, you know, Southwest Virginia, you know, and Big Stone Gap down in there, you know, and, you know, up in all the way down to Chattanooga, and, you know, and Green, you know, just East Tennessee.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Miss Evelyn, when you think about those that you went to school with, and I guess the people that grew up here in Johnson City, went through Langston, I guess their reach, I guess, goes all across the country, maybe even parts of the world. Do you keep up with some of those alumni?
Yes, I do. One of my best friends is in Los Angeles, and but now I was from a big class. There were 19 of us, 6 girls and 13 boys. That's the last time the odds have been in our favor, because right after that was the Vietnam War, and they took all the men then. But there were 19 of us, so there are very few of us left. There are 3 girls, and we're all 3 living in Johnson City. So that was actually from that class. The girl that's my friend in Los Angeles, she left in at the end of our junior year. So, but we've stayed friends all our life. And like I say, with the small class, you're as close to the class before you and the one after you. So I have a lot of friends in DC and in New York and different places. So.
I see.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I said, it was a family. That school was a family, you know. You know, you come together, you see each other, you know, you really enjoy seeing each other when you haven't seen each other for a couple of years or something like that, you know.
I was told that if you can't remember when you were little, it was probably traumatic. Well, I must have had a wonderful life, because I can remember everything from elementary school, high school. And so that tells you that I had a wonderful upbringing, and Langston was a big part of it.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Well, again, it's really exciting to hear. You know, sometimes we have conversations about, of course, what was, and again, we talk about the pain of segregation, which was very real, but we don't always hear about this other aspect of segregation, that you know, that there was that family feel, there was that camaraderie, that closeness, that you know, that sense of community. And I don't, you know, and I promise I won't get too negative here, but you know, I've even heard some people debate the point that it seemed like that things in some cases were a little better then than they are today, and that, you know, you really have to take that conversation with some, you know, with a really deep breath, because you know, certainly nobody is supporting segregation, but they're trying to say that that it seemed like the Black community was more cohesive then than today.
It was. The teachers had a genuine concern for you, because there was nothing for a parent, for the teacher to go to your home, talk to your parent, call them on the phone, have them there. And then when schools were integrated, you lost that. And the parents didn't even know who the teachers were.
Well, most of the teachers taught your parents. They was there, they was there that long, you know. Most of them taught your parents. I mean, they'll tell you, your mother, all that stuff, I taught her and coming in, goes.
Yeah.
So it was a little different,
Yeah. For everyone that's listening, of course, the school existed from 1893 to 1965. So
right.
when you hear Mr. Newman talk about teaching parents and their children, that's very real, because the school was here for generations. So if you have any questions, would love to see them in the chat area. And Joe or Ann, are there any questions via Facebook or?
Yeah, there is one on Facebook that came in a few minutes ago. Let's see. So you said that you got the hand-me-down books from Science Hill. Were you on the same curriculum as Science Hill at the same time? Or their books after they were done with them? So basically, she was curious if the students at both schools were learning the same things at the same time.
They said we were, but there were a lot of things because we didn't have enough students. We didn't get to go, the math classes didn't go as high as, you didn't get calculus, you didn't get a lot of the things that they were getting. And I don't know that when we got they just always got the new books and then we got the hand-me-downs or what, but when the schools were integrated, there were things that we had not been exposed to. I was out of school, but my sisters had, a little more trouble, a little more difficulty. And where we were taught more, we didn't get a lot of the classics and stuff like that. We were taught more sentence structures and things like that. And then when they went to Science Hill, you had teachers who kind of made fun of them, and they would call on every black child, knowing that the first one didn't know. And then they would just say, what about you? And what about you? And what about you? To kind of belittle them when they first entered. And my sister was one of those, she would stay up at night and cry, trying to get everything, because but the next year, the head of the English department taught her, and she made straight A's. So, she was determined to get it no matter what. But some things, our teachers saw more need for sentence structures and things like that. And we didn't read a lot of the classics or anything like that in English.
Right.
But I don't know that the curriculum was the same. And the teachers, when they integrated, I don't think they put any two teachers together. They separated everybody. So they were, from what Callie said, they were kind of all got lost because you didn't have anybody to go to tell your troubles to or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. That support network.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm. Yeah.
There are a few more questions that have come in. Okay, so hang on. A follow-up question to that first one. I think you maybe alluded to it partially in your answer. When the schools were integrated, the teachers were integrated as well?
Yes.
Right.
But not at the same level. Some that were teaching seniors, they were put at junior high level. They had to prove themselves again.
Okay.
I believe Mr. Douglas, he went back.
Yeah, he had to go to junior high.
He went to junior high, yeah. He was a real good teacher too. And I believe, Coach Crispin, he was assistant coach.
Yeah, the most winning coach in the area, and he had to be the assistant coach.
Right.
Yeah. Kind of a step back.
Yeah.
Right.
Very much a step back.
Much a step back.
Sure.
There was maybe one teacher that went to Science Hill, but I'm not even sure there was one. because they just put them at lower levels. And but when you hear children that were taught by them, most of them mentioned that the teacher, that was a turning point in their life, that teacher nurtured them later. So they just had a way of nurturing kids and teaching them and that type thing, and because they wanted to be teachers.
Right. Right.
I've heard individuals, just piggybacking off of you, Miss Evelyn, I've heard individuals talk about Mr. Douglas.
Oh,
and
yeah.
what an outstanding teacher that he was.
Right.
Again, this is 20, 30 years after integration, but just wonderful things they said about him. And
Yeah.
so, he still, I guess they still have fond memories of him.
Right.
Yeah, because he continued that, calling everybody Miss So-and-so and Mr. So-and-so.
Yeah, he gave everybody respect.
He used a lot of words that they had never heard before, and they had to look them up so it stayed in their vocabulary, things like that.
Yeah.
But I was at one of my physician's offices, and he started talking about my sixth grade teacher, who was his sixth grade teacher, and how she had caused it. She was the reason he said he became a doctor, because of the way she treated him. So things like that make you feel good.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, there are a couple of other questions here. One from friends over at the McKinney Center. Curious if Evelyn and Angelo went to Booker T. Washington School before Langston.
No, I went to Dunbar. Yeah, we both went to Dunbar.
What grade was that?
That was one first through six.
It later became K through 6, but it was just 1 through 6, because they say everything you learn, you learn in kindergarten. Well, we didn't have kindergarten, so we started off as a disadvantage.
First grade.
We started at a disadvantage.
ABCs.
And so
weren't there two schools?
It was Douglas.
Now there were 2 elementaries, and then the one.
Right. It was Douglas and Dunbar.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so, just for our listener, where was Dunbar located?
It was where the Grace Temple Church is now, on the corner of Elmore and Garden Drive. Elmore and Chilhowie.
Mm-hmm.
It's Garden Drive and Chilhowie now on the corner.
Mm-hmm.
And Douglas was located on Millard Street, and that's some kind of I don't know what kind of center down there at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, they changed that to a center. Yeah, so it was 2 elementary schools and 1 high school. See, we didn't have in the whole high school.
250 was the largest.
250 was the largest student body we had.
Really?
Yeah,
Our band was about 40. I think we had 42 instruments or something like that, and you had your majorettes. But to be a majorette, you had to play during concert season. You had to play an instrument.
I remember in football. Sometimes we had about 3 football players that had big heads. And have one helmet fit their head, so we had to swap it around.
So were things like your sports equipment as well, like your school books, also like? Yeah,
that was it was a little raggedy, but that's but we made the best out of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, we still
Sometimes you don't know any better.
Right.
You don't. The books. Now I knew that somebody shouldn't be writing the wrong answers in them, but a lot of things you just don't know. Because I didn't know I was poor until after I got out of school, and integration made me know I was poor. Before that, I had everything everybody else did, so that was fine.
And then you had some other organizations around here that helped, furnish the uniforms, and even the band uniforms, and some of the individuals would buy some instruments and stuff like that, and they would help, support the sport activities in the school.
Mm-hmm. Another question about Langston and sports, I believe. What year did Langston get to play against the white-only schools?
No, that never happened. They weren't even scrimmages. You know, we wanted scrimmage, you know, but they weren't even scrimmages, you know. We never get to play. We never did, no, until that was after integration, you know, after, you know, we never played against each other. Now, maybe scrimmage some basketball, you know, but Hampton, yeah, because it had Coach Little, or I forgot, it was one of the coaches up in Hamilton. He used to, Hampton, yeah. Yeah, he used to bring his team down, and we would scrimmage basketball. But I didn't play basketball, so, you know, so.
Oh, sorry. So how was, as Evelyn mentioned, like for some students after, like, especially early on into the integration, you know, teachers might be doing things to, you know, I think you mentioned like belittle the student or make them aware of like certain things. How did you see any of that in the sports and the teams? Like when schools integrated like sports teams, if there was anything like that happened?
I was gone, and by the time the school was gone, I had left.
Yeah, I really don't know.
So.
I don't know.
I'm sure that there was some, since our coach was assistant coach instead of coach, that I'm sure that there were didn't get to play all the time. But when you want to win, you'll put anybody out there. I
remember Johnny Russell going to. He was a quarterback my junior year, you know, and he graduated the year before I did, and he went to East Tennessee State. I know he caught it was pretty rough for him, you know, when he got accepted at East Tennessee State, you know, playing football on the football team. Yeah, he went through some terrible things, man. Had some terrible things happen to him.
Yeah. And of course, Johnny, but Mr. Russell was the first. Was he the first black to play football?
Right. He was the first.
Black to
play
football.
Right.
Yes.
Play football. Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. So he was, you know, he was telling us about some different things that happened, you know.
Yeah.
You know.
Now, very quickly, Angelo, even though the blacks and the whites couldn't play football, certainly didn't play together, and you certainly didn't play against each other, but you all played at the same field, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we played at the Memorial Stadium. We played on Thursday night. Science Hill played on Friday night. Yeah, we had to play on Thursday night, get up, go to school on Friday.
and Science Hill had Friday night.
But that's all right. That was cool.
but what was a Thursday night like? Thursday night football game. What's the stories about the band and going over to Memorial? What was that like?
Well, I was in the band. I was a majorette. And we marched from the school up Market and down Main to the stadium, and then you had a halftime show, and I was there under Mr. Carruthers, and he left there and went to Tennessee State, so that's how good he was, and he demanded that we be as good as the college team at that time. And when we had a parade, everybody turned up downtown.
We had an awesome band.
Yeah.
We had everybody turned out.
We were always top.
No matter who.
Yeah, we marched at East Tennessee State College's homecoming always, and we were always top. If you're not gonna march last, you know, you don't march. And we got a new band director my senior year, and they had us last. And I said, we go back to the school, and he said, who put you in charge? I said, no, we just don't march last. We've always said we can't march last. So they put us. Then they made us first, and our instruments didn't get there. But we marched anyway. But half the instruments weren't there.
Yeah.
I bet that was an awesome sight to see that march from the school to the stadium.
To the stadium, you're right.
Oh yes,
right. It was fun.
You marched.
Yeah, it was on Thursday, and you had to get up and go to school on Friday.
The march back might not have been
You didn't march back. Everybody.
Everybody.
It was every man for himself coming home.
Did anyone ever record that?
What?
I don't know if we got any recordings on that. There should be some recordings around here, some of the news recordings.
Really?
Yeah, maybe that's something to look out.
Yeah, that'd be something worth
Would be something nice, really.
Huh.
Mhm. Yep.
Well, there was another question that's similar to what Adam had just mentioned, or just asked about like what a night, like a Thursday night would have been like. Someone was asking, they just sort of want to know what like a general school day was like. Like, did girls and boys have PE together? Were there music and art classes?
Yes. We did not have
PT.
PE together, no. But Coach was also the PE teacher. He was coach for every sport, and he was the PE teacher for girls and boys. And we had to wear those gym suits back then. I mean, there was no getting around it. You had to wear them, and I don't think you could slack off being a girl. No, he'd make you run laps, and there was no girls push-ups. There was no girls nothing. He was from the military, so there was no slacking off for girls. No.
Yeah.
And Thursday night after the ball games, you got back to the school and you had a sock hop.
Right.
And you had to pay to go to it, something like a quarter or something. And time the guys got bathed afterwards, the football players
showered.
After they got showered, it was over. So then you walked up. You didn't have no one had a car when I was in school. No one had a car. And one girl got to bring her daddy's car after lunch. She'd go home for lunch and get to bring it back. But so you walked home from wherever you lived, and I lived quite a distance.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, if everyone like lived relatively close to the school.
No, I lived on Roan Hill over where Pine Oaks Golf Course is right now.
Oh wow.
So I
lived near where Science Hill is and had to walk. It was in the morning. If you're running late, you could get there quick because it was downhill all the way. But it'd take you a long time to get home.
Was there a bus system or anything?
No. You got bused elementary school. I got bused, doing my during the time I attended elementary school. From Roan Hill. But after that, you walked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As part of that last question, they also were wondering about, like, you mentioned sock hops, but what about, like, did you have prom or homecoming?
Oh yeah. Homecoming.
Homecoming. Yes, I was homecoming queen in my junior year. It wasn't a senior. It wasn't seniors only. It was, you had a 7th grade candidate, an 8th grade. You had it all the way through, and it was not on popularity. It was how much money you raised. And the money, it probably went for some of the activities and buying uniforms and whatever. And a lot of kids from Jonesboro went to Langston.
Right.
And always the candidate, they'd always pick somebody from Jonesboro because they usually, the whole town helped them raise money. So I just knew that there's no way I could win against Frazier.
Right. So, but the kids.
But I raised the most money.
Right. But the kids did ride bus from Jonesboro and Limestone and Telford to Langston because they was bused to Langston every day and back and forth. So they was bused, right?
And the prom was held at school, and mothers were there to chaperone. And once you got in the prom, you did not leave. And you didn't go out to eat before you got there. You ate at home. But I would think I was probably that same way for Science Hill kids, because back then there were not restaurants and whatever.
Yeah.
No.
Hey, Joe, we got a question that came in over the Zoom chat, and it says, on the first day that you heard the schools would be integrated, do you remember how you felt and what the conversations were about that?
Well, to me, I was my last year. So I was, and I thought, well, it's it's, you know, it's going to be different, you know, but, you know, I went to Johnson City Vocational School, down to the old Johnson. It used to be on New Street, talk radio and TV electronics too. During the time I was going to high school, I was one of the first blacks that went down there, you know, along with 3 others, you know, Langston students. So, I kind of accepted it, you know. I mean, you know, it's a change. It's, you know, we got to change. We got to come together. You know.
I was curious about something sort of along those lines. So since you guys mentioned that by the time integration happened, you were either already graduated or were about to graduate.
Right.
Before that, though, how active were the students at Langston? Like, were there any, you know, marches or demonstrations or any local push for integration from the Langston community or the students?
No, they were adopting that grade a year program.
Right.
Because my family was very involved in that because I had a sister that started with the kindergarten class and that grade a year thing. And then
Right.
One was, she didn't go to school for the first month. She was going to the junior high. And they wouldn't, she'd go every day and they'd go back home and that type thing. But but I was out, but by the time they did integrate the schools, I was out and
Right. So
I had even left the area. So
yeah, it was a push back started in the late 50s, you know, by the NAACP, you know, for integration, you know. I mean, like you said, it had to be a change, you know, everything had to come together.
Angelo and Evelyn, what about Mr. Armstrong and the effort there?
now I was not there while Mr. Armstrong was there, but now he was very ahead of his time, very progressive, and they I can remember the march when I don't even know what it was that they accused him of or something because of things he was trying to promote.
Yeah.
And I can remember I was in elementary school and I can remember the kids walking, marching around the school from Langston. So, but I was too young to really understand what was going on. But like I say, my dad was part of the
Movement.
the case in Greenville when the NAACP came in and for Margaret, you know, so he was always very active. And that's, like I said, that's the reason I came to, we moved to Johnson City from Southwest Virginia because he wasn't gonna have me bus past 2 schools. So he was, he put Joy and Lottie and Lottie it was all over the time she came through, but Margaret and Joy, they were part of the first to integrate the schools.
And I guess just a quick update, Mr. Armstrong was at that time the principal of Langston High School.
Yes.
And I think that there is newspaper documentation that covers.
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
Right.
And some people even lost their job. I mean, didn't some people like lose jobs and things because if they took a stand?
Yes,
Right.
yes,
Right.
yes,
Right.
yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And I learned more history from when there was, I don't know how many years it was before we started having reunions after the school was closed. It was over 10 years, I think. And he came back to and spoke to us, and he told of all the people, the different businesses that helped us and those that didn't, you know. So he gave us a lot of insight as to what went on and how he had to approach the Board of Education. And he said there was this one store that the owner, he'd say, "All right, Armstrong, get your stuff together." And he said he'd take in a stack of papers like this tell them he had signatures. He said he had about 10 signatures on it, but they never looked. You know, they thought there were more of us than there were.
Petition.
And he'd go into all these papers and they said, give them what they want. Give them some, buy them some uniforms, buy them some whatever, you know, that type thing. So there was always ways around things.
Right.
A couple other questions have come in on Facebook. Both of these are sort of personal questions about you guys. So one is tied to what we were just talking about, whether you all personally thought about integration, or if you personally wanted integration. And then the other is more recent, if either of you helped with the Langston renovation, or what you sort of want to see happen with Langston now going forward.
Well, yeah, I'm for integration. You know, I was for it. That's why I said, you know, I went down to vocational school because we had auto mechanics at our school, and white students down there wanted to come to our school, but on the way they could come to our school, we had to go down there to their school the first year. So they wanted to take auto mechanics, and I want to take electronics. You know, so I got a chance to go and take electronics, electrical electronics, and at that vocational school. So yeah, I mean, they had other things offered that we didn't have, and that we had some things offered that they didn't have. You know, like auto mechanics. You know, with the Norse. You know, so, and but I was for. I'm not against integration. That's progress. You know, and I know some people got hurt in the move, but that's the way it is. You know. Yeah, but and then the other question you asked about, what was the other question you asked, Joe?
Yeah, just if either of you were involved with the work with the.
Oh yes. I really, well, I hate to see that school destroyed and tore down. I remember the time Evelyn and I went over there and for a newspaper, neighborhood news, to do a report, and that's the auditorium was dilapidated. The ceiling was falling in. It was heartbreaking, and to see the condition of the school. You know, only thing was saved is what's saved up there now, the gymnasium. Yeah. The only thing looked worth saving.
That was built the year I started at Langston. We didn't start till October because they were building the school, and we had to go on Saturdays when that part was built. But in the auditorium, it has such good acoustics, everything, and to look and see it just that a maintenance department would let the building fall in around them. And then I mean it hurt. It hurt.
Right. I mean, see the way the building was and the condition they try to keep the building and then maintain it, and then you go back years later and it's dilapidated. You know, it was hurting. You know, I mean, you know, let the building just go down like that. You know.
But Michael Young was the one that really instigated getting the Langston Center. He was.
Yeah, he was.
It was he was so hurt by it that he really pushed it more than anybody, I think. And he had a small committee. I was not part of that committee.
Yeah.
But you know, anything they were doing to raise money or do whatever, you know, part of it.
Yeah.
But and I was pleasantly surprised to see how things had turned out, because I couldn't see how that little bit of it they could do so much with it. But
right, they look good now. I mean, Mike was a classmate of mine. He's also was a football player, you know, in the same year, you know. Yeah, he was a guard, you know. Yeah, he was mean leaning. Yeah, so yeah, but I hate to lose Mike too, you know. Mike was good. Yeah, so, but we like I said, we contributed, you know, to the center, and I, you know, wanted to, you know, support it, you know, because I hate to see it go, destroyed like that, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm glad you know, it turned out the way it has, and other people got involved in it, and you know, and pushed it and made it, you know, something out of it, and saved what could be saved.
Well, I think we've got time for 2 more questions if you guys are okay with that.
And I've got a question on Zoom too.
Okay. Well, I'm going to ask one that got messaged to me through Zoom, but I think it was to me privately. But did Langston have a, hang on, I lost it. Did they have a cafeteria staff there? And about the elementary schools, were the elementary schools much different, like in design, different elementary schools? And then we had, Booker T. Washington School. Was there much difference in those, in the design in like the elementary schools?
Can't really tell because I've not been in that many schools. I volunteer at Northside School, and it's a neighborhood school, much like Dunbar was, But I think in design it was probably similar. It's except like said, the cafeteria was very small at Dunbar, but at Langston, we had the best cooks in town.
The cafeteria.
I mean, there was no such thing as cafeteria food.
Really.
You would fight over the food there. Nobody wanted to bring their lunch.
What was some of the food you guys ate there?
Gotcha.
It was just normal food, but I mean, it was seasoned. It was delicious. It was
the green beans, the corn.
It was your friend's mother cooking there.
Beans.
So, and apple brand Betty. That was the best thing in the world. That was a dessert. So yeah, and it was delightful.
Yeah, they even cook meatloaf.
Oh yeah, they fixed it.
Yeah, so. Yeah, but like I said, at Dunbar now, you had the cafeteria and the auditorium was all in one, But Langston, you had a separate, cafeteria, and you had, different classes went at different times,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
But it's really about the same
it was not cafeteria food. Let me tell you, it was
it was good food.
Eating at Pascal's in Atlanta or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to beat good Southern seasoned food.
Right. Yeah, they come out with cherry pies sometimes.
The big rolls.
Like I said, they didn't have 250 students to cook for,
Yeah.
So it's small, but they had a nice setup.
Yeah, and they covered a wide area too, as you mentioned, with those students, Jonesboro and Limestone, all over.
Right. And those are kids coming from, everywhere, from Limestone, Tefford, Jonesboro, Johnson City, and, all sections of Johnson City at the time.
We had another question about prior to integration. Did your teachers talk with you all in class, like openly about the civil rights issues that were going on?
Yes, but I not as much my group because we were several years, I was 3 years ahead kind of there, but and like I say, I had a dad that was very informed, and we were a news family. We were always watching news, so I was very informed, and they already had us. Like I say, they told you were better. You had to be better than.
Mm-hmm.
So you were prepared for what you were going to have to face. Because when I moved to Atlanta, kids there, I had not experienced the things they had. Been put back. I'd never been in the back of the bus, but I'd never been on a bus. Things like that. So we didn't have some of the same problems. And they would say that they'd never tried on a pair of shoes. They'd had to draw their foot. Well, we didn't have to. I never had to go through that in Johnson City. I mean, it was different. I had always tried on clothes. I'd tried on a hat if I wanted to, and so things were different. A little. We were East Tennessee at that time was a little more progressive than other places.
Yeah, you've seen them. You've seen the movement. The integration movement. In Alabama and places like that, where it's school integration and stuff like that on television, the newscast and stuff like that. But it never was mentioned probably that much in school.
And I don't think in the kids when they went that they didn't have a lot of. It was like I say, the teachers that most of the teachers were fair and helped kids, but you had those few little incidents. But I mean, there was no fighting. There was no people carrying guns, no people hollering or picketing or anything when they integrated the schools. It went from the grade a year. That happened for 1 year. They integrated kindergarten and ETSU, and then the next year everything was open,
right.
wide up, wide open. So
it was smooth. It was smooth translation. Yeah. So, I mean, you didn't hear about it. I mean, the only thing you heard about was what you saw on the news. You know,
Yeah.
nobody kept something going.
All right. Well, I think that is all of our questions that have come in. So, do you have any final thoughts you want to add?
You have any final thoughts, Evelyn?
no, I'm glad I can still remember some things.
I'll tell you what, talking about that cafeteria food at the end made me. I ate before, but I'm gonna have to eat again.
Oh,
hey,
yeah.
really?
Yeah, the macaroni and cheese and
Hey.
all that stuff was good. It was that government cheese that made that macaroni and cheese was good.
All right. Well, I want to thank you guys so much for being part of this. It was a lot of fun. Always good to hear these sorts of conversations and to capture the history of the area, but also the specific time periods and things are really important. And then the African American stories coming out of Langston are always important to capture and tell. So really appreciate that, and Adam and the work that Langston is doing. Any thoughts from you, Adam? Any last word that you want to throw out there?
Again, very grateful to participate. We really are grateful for alumni like Angelo and Evelyn, and that is one of the mandates that we have at the Langston Center, is to preserve and remember the history of Langston High School and subsequently the Black experience in Johnson City. So their stories and this opportunity are very important. Thank you.
Yeah, and we're grateful for you guys sharing it too. So thank you all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting us.
Yes.
Welcome. You can come back next year. We'll do it again.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll be back.
We'll do it for the team.
We can do it face to face.
If you have recipes, we'll eventually do a second cookbook. So
All right. All right, Ann.
But also thank you guys to all those who watched and throughout all the comments and conversations for us. So keep an eye out. We will be back in the spring with more happy hour content. For now, follow along with us on Chester and Facebook, Chester and YouTube. We've got our next Victorian video coming out tomorrow morning. And then other than that, we'll see you guys around. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Good night now.
Good night.
yes.
All right. Yeah, thank you guys again so much. That was really awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, the billing that we sold for the finale.
Yeah. The perfect finale for the year. So we really appreciate it.
All right. Y'all have a good night.
All right,
You
thanks.
too.
All
All
right.
right.
Thank you.
Enjoy your holidays.
Enjoy.
Yeah.
Don't eat too much turkey.
Yeah. Hey, Joe, are we still on Facebook?
Maybe. No, I don't. I think I got out of it, but we might not be.
It still says live.
Okay, then we're probably still live. We're gonna be live forever. Oh, there we go.